Well, today, ladies and gentlemen, in this video, I've been pondering this question: why do guitarists love old school vintage guitars? And today I want to sit down with you and have a conversation, a one-way conversation, but a conversation nonetheless at the topic at hand. And let's talk about it, all right? With that all being said, let's get into it. So what is going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. My name is Ray. I'm a guitar player here on YouTube. And man, I've been wondering this question for quite some time. Let me catch you up to speed. So I was very fortunate enough to acquire this 1971 Gibson Les Paul Custom at the beginning of this year before the world shut down. And in a very unfortunate circumstances. I've done a couple videos with this guitar. You guys know that story if you've been following along. But anyway, I found this guitar at a very, very good price on Reverb. And I was like, I have to have that guitar. That's a dream guitar. This is a 1971 Black Beauty Les Paul Custom, man. No breaks, no repairs, all stock minus the frets. You gotta get it, right? And so when I got it, I was immediately disappointed. I really was, man. I was disappointed at the fact that, man, this guitar just doesn't play very well. And so I got this guitar like late January, but it really didn't make an appearance heavily on the channel till about June, July, to where I kind of was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna roll with it. It doesn't stay in tune, it doesn't play very well, but I gotta use it, right? You know what I mean? Like, this is a dream guitar. People are supposed to love these things. And it got me to thinking, like, man, why don't I really like this guitar when it appears everybody else does? And I've also had a similar situation with my 1978 Les Paul Custom, the blonde one, the natural finish. You guys have seen that one as well. It plays great now, but when I first got it, it needs some serious work, and it was a bit of a headache for a long, long time. I've had a lot of bad luck, I guess, with old school Les Paul Customs. But am I in the minority? Well, let's talk about why people love old school guitars. Now, I think first and foremost, I think people would say the sound. Now, for example, here are my two old school Les Paul Customs. Throw out some clips that I've been using over the past 6 months, give or take. They sound really good. I'll be completely honest, they sound great. But is the sound all that groundbreaking and worth the price tag and worth all of the extra money and all the extra time you have to invest in these guitars? Well, that is certainly subjective, but I'm going to be honest, I really don't think it is. I think I have a lot of newer guitars that sound equally as good, if not better. Again, it's all personal preference and personal taste, but I just think the whole vintage sound vibe is really overrated, for lack of a better term. Now, I could personally see why I would think that, because I play high gain, heavy metal, rock and roll, you know what I mean? I don't play like blues or like, you know, soft rock, whatever you call that, you know what I mean? Like, I play with some oomph behind my tone. And so maybe the tone, you know, love gets washed out in high gain and like a Fortin 33. I don't know. I don't think so. But I mean, I guess I could see like, hey, maybe people that use these guitars for like a lot of cleans or like some broken up sounds, like an old school Marshall, maybe. But for me, I really think the sound aspect of like, oh, these are so desired because they sound better, in my own personal opinion, is extremely overrated. And quite frankly, I don't believe that to be true. I don't want to say it's not true, but I don't believe it to be true. But I will say, I think the one reason, at least for me personally, as to why I've been obsessed with old school guitars is the vibe. Now, relic guitars are certainly a thing, and I personally don't really like relic guitars, but these types of vibes, I mean, I don't know how well you can see all this stuff. Get my stupid face out of there so it could focus. It's not cooperating. Anyway, you get the gist. This thing has a lot of vibe and a lot of stories and a lot of memories attached to it. And I think that's the reason why I love these guitars, and I think that's the reason why more people love these guitars, whether they know it or not. Relics guitars, they just looked cool, man. Like, they just look so sick. I mean, look at this headstock. Look at that thing, huh? And you don't have to spend $4,000 for a brand new guitar and have somebody beat up your guitar for you. You can buy an old one and it'll look the same, and it'll be authentic, no pun intended. So I really think the vibe and the story and the mystique of old school guitars is what really attracts them to other people. Now again, this is all subjective and just me just sitting down and talking and explaining my thoughts. But as I've continued to take my music career seriously and continued to go on this journey that I'm on, wherever it leads me, I really find that I don't like vintage guitars as much as I thought I once would. I thought, like, you know, when I was a kid, like, oh, you get an old school guitar, it'll play great, it'll sound great. Old school guitars for me have been nothing but an investment, a headache, and just like a lot of frustration, all wrapped into one big package, man. I've had a lot of bad luck, and maybe I'm just, you know, a rarity and a one-off case with that instance. But a lot of people that I see in this YouTube scene with old school guitars always say they don't play well, they need a ton of work, they need this, they need that. And it's kind of like you compensate the reliability and you compensate the desire to play just because it's an old school guitar. You know what I mean? Like, you sacrifice, like, oh, like, it doesn't play well and it doesn't, you know, really do its job, but it's an old school guitar, so, like, I'm gonna play. You know what I mean? You see what I'm saying? Like, I think you sacrifice something there just because, you know, you're playing an old school guitar by default. And I've often said, man, I've thought about selling this guitar many, many times. I thought as soon as I got it, it would be a lifer, and, you know, it still very well could be, but, man, I don't know. Maybe it belongs in somebody else's hands and not me. It's just like, you know, I just don't get the desire anymore as I continue to go on this journey. I have some brand new guitars that play better and sound better in my own personal opinion, and although they're not worth the investment and the price tag, at the end of the day, am I a player or am I a collector and or seller? That's up for me to decide, and I think I'm more of a player than I am a collector. I don't have, you know, millions of dollars to spend on old school guitars. I need to play them, man. I need to play, I need to make money, I have a living, and I need to make a living and I have, you know, bills to pay. So I can't just have a pretty guitar just sit in the, you know, in the back corner and just have it because it's an old school guitar. You guys see what I'm saying? Am I making any sense of this? So overall, to wrap up today's video, I'm not bashing on anybody that loves guitars, or old school guitars, excuse me, and I think, you know, anybody that's not looking for a fight can see that, but, you know, if people want to bash me because I don't like old school guitars as much as I want, you're going to find a reason to hate on me. So, you know, go ahead, have at it, do your worst, get in line. You know, there's a long list of you and a long line of you. But for those of you who understand what I'm saying, you know, I think these guitars are beautiful, and they do sound great, and they look really cool. But the overall ease of use and playability really hinders the older they get. And then you also have to spend a ton of money and invest in it to get it to, you know, playable. But at the end of the day, like, if you spend, let's say this thing costs, I don't know, $3,000. You have to put another probably $1,000 worth of parts and repairs into it. Now you're talking $4,000. You could have got 2.5, 3 guitars for that price that are brand new, and you won't have to invest that. And then you can sell those guitars and probably make even, you know, make your money back all for one guitar. Anyway, I think I'm rambling now, but I just wanted to share that with you and have this conversation because nobody that I live with understands the vibe of old school guitars, and I can't really have this conversation, you know, with anybody in person really, because they just don't get it. So anyway, I hope that made some sense, and I hope my opinions and my beliefs were clear. And yeah, man, let me know what you guys think about old school guitars. I'd love to hear from you. Do you own an old school guitar? Do you collect them? Do you play them? Have you had one in the past and you gotten rid of it? Why? Why have you kept it? Etc., etc. I just want to have a nice conversation because, as I said, I see a lot of people like Robert Baker, Fluff, they have some old school guitars. And I've heard that, you know, there's a lot of work and a lot of, you know, upkeep with them, but is it all worth it in the end? For me, I'm leaning towards no, and, you know, I think, like, newer guitars are kind of cooler, and they're, like, more reliable, and they stay in tune, and they intonate. Anyway, leave all your thoughts down below, and thank you so much for allowing me to get this thought out of my head and just sit down with you guys. I really appreciate it. A huge shout out to all my patrons and everybody who supports me. If you're brand new to my channel, you better consider hitting that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. It'd make my day. Please like and share this video, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Alright, everybody? So thank you so much one more time. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay metal, and I'll see you guys next time. Later.